That kid out in London might need McLeod Law.
We talked about that on the old Department of Discipline on Tuesday, which will drop today in your podcast universes.
All right.
Did you hear this story? Do you know?
Tell me.
Landon Sim, I think his dad's John Sim. You remember him?
I do.
He's playing for the London Knights. They're in warm-up, and I think is it Saginaw or someone else? There's two S's in that league. Forgetting.
I think they're playing.
You're lost in the sauce, dude.
Oshawa.
What'd the kid do?
Sorry. So this is in the semifinals in warm-up. The other kid comes up to Sim, who he knows Sim's been taking a little freezing in his shoulder. He says, "I'm going to break your bleeping shoulder tonight," or something to that effect. He says, "No, you're not. You're too much of a P word to do that."
Right.
Which is like, okay, they're chirping each other.
Yeah.
Like one guy, threatening violence. The other guy calls him the P word. Probably things we don't want our kids to do in grade 3, but we understand that this is a series. Intimidation's involved.
That's right.
Oh, Mr. Referee, come over. Did you hear what he said? 5-game suspension, no appeal allowed for using the P word, but not for threatening to break someone's already injured shoulder. And apparently there's a relation between the player that heard that was the receiving end of the P word and the guy who hands out discipline in the league. And then there's no appeal process, which is absolutely bleeping insane. It's wild. It is absolutely insane. And I'm not saying you should use words like that. I'm also not suggesting that if you're going to say words are very dangerous, we have to suspend everything, that there's anyone left on either bench at the end of
You better put some muzzles on the whole league.
Like, it's just what?
Jesus wept. I mean,
hey, you can't
where are we at? Let's get that kid on the podcast here, and we'll let him pee it up all he wants.
Yeah,
he's
let
liking
loose,
all
dude.
the videos on the socials.
Jeez.
He saw it. He likes it.
And
he's
know what?
back.
By the
They're
way,
into the Memorial Cup. They survived it.
Yeah, exactly.
Missed
The old
the first 4 games of the OHL final against the
tattletale there. Little karma coming your way. Already has. More to come.
Season's over. Yeah.
Pussy.
Jeez. You might
2
need
games
to
tonight.
after this.
Oh, we got lawyers in our back pocket.
He's all cocky now that he's got lawyers behind him.
Peter Klein. I got Peter Klein on my side. That's fucking crazy.
It's insane.
Right? That's
insane. I'm sorry.
And again, like, we don't want 5-year-olds doing these kinds of things, but to threaten violence, and just brush it off. Like, what are we doing here? These are essentially, pro athletes. They're making a tiny stipend every month. They're playing to win series. They're in a sport where intimidation's absolutely an ingredient. What are we doing here?
At what age would your kids, all of us have boys, at what age would your kids have to be? Let's assume that something happens. Excuse me, Mr. Warner Pinder Mulber. We're going to need you to come into the school. Your son, we have him here in the office. He's going to be suspended, so we need to talk to you. Okay, drive down there. He used the P word on the playground. At what age would the kid have to be where you would say, okay, well, that's unacceptable? Where's the tipping point? Where does Betway have the tipping point where it's like, well, you can't say those things, and you raise an eyebrow to the principal and be like,
I'm setting the line at 13 and a half. Dean, you want to take the over or under?
I think I'm going
Why am I sitting
under.
here right now?
I'm going under.
12, you're not a teenager. 13, you are.
I'm going under.
Going under on that?
But that's because
I'm called in at 10. And you asked personally, I'm going in at the age of 10. I'm going to have to get some context to the story and why the word was used and why this sounds disciplining.
Yeah. Well,
I got suspended in grade 8 for using the S word. We had the door open. It was springtime. And the big wasp or bee came flying in, and I said, "Holy shit! Go home."
That was easy. How old were you?
Grade 8. I don't know, 18. Well, I drove to school.
You didn't finish school, did you? This is Ken Campbell's article here at the Hockey News. Yeah. So Ken's all over it. It's a horrible look for the OHL. And so now you've set this precedent. Are you really expecting to be able to hold this moving forward?
How are you monitoring this?
And it's like, hey, David Branch, just ring David Branch. Hey, Dave, when you mic up players, I think probably every team in the OHL has probably done this, put a mic on a guy and skate around. Like, you want to go sift through that tape and see how many guys you need to suspend, you asshat?
Get
What
the
are we
mics
doing
off
here?
the boards too
Jeez.
for a hockey game, right? You know what I mean?
You want to sift through some tape, bud?
Now, let me sit. Let you know which side I'm on here, but
Yeah.
let's flip this a little bit. So
Okay.
it's the referee taking the other player's word for it.
That's what
I don't
wonder.
think anything happened with the referee. It was one that he reported it to the referee, and then following, I think he probably played that game, and then following the league suspended. That's my interpretation.
But we're taking
How
the
did
kid's
they-
word
how do-
for it.
Okay, Boomer just called me something, and
Yeah.
I go
Yeah.
tell you, and you're like, Dean, you're
I
not
would
allowed on the show.
And so this is what Ken Campbell says is really the big issue. It's not, deciding what words are evil or not, which is pretty insane. It's that there's no transparency to the process, and there's just a game handed down with a number on suspension, and there's no appeal process. What league have you heard of on earth where you can't even appeal?
Yeah.
Like no, so some dude at the OHL is playing judge, jury, and executioner. Like, fuck off. That's horrible.
If it's a situation where there's something going on and the ref is standing right there and here's the slander.
Yeah, that's
I
one
could
thing.
Okay,
speak
now
the-
there's a discussion to be had, but this is a step. I can't believe that there's a. Just stop the frickin' planet. And let me
I
off.
get why you don't want to leave the
I
house.
don't want to leave the house, man. That's why I don't friggin' leave the house.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.